Welcome everyone to the Global Coherence Pulse and happy solstice. The Global Coherence Pulse is coming to you live from two stages today, the Earth Dance TV stage and the World Unity Week stage. It's really exciting to have this convergence of all of these different places that you can watch the Global Coherence Pulse today. We're also in a wave of Facebook pages that are going live with us right now. So welcome. We're really excited to have you here with us today. I want to acknowledge the huge efforts of the growing number of individuals and organizations that have joined together to make this incredible wave of unity and love and coherence and celebration possible. And if you're joining from the World Unity stage, you may have just finished watching the Purpose Earth event, which was incredible. And if you didn't get to see it, you can check it out on purposeearth.org to see the replay and continue and contribute to this important project. And if you're joining us from the Earth Dance TV stage, you are the first to access this new site, and we hope that you'll stick around after the pulse for the amazing Co-Manifestival that will unfold over the next 8 hours following the pulse. So let's jump right in. My name is Teresa Collins, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Global Coherence Pulse, a social collaborative initiative whose purpose is to empower individuals and communities around the world to cultivate sustained heart coherence and join in synchronized events to help catalyze an evolutionary leap for humanity to vibrant health, wholeness, and a thriving world for all beings. When a system is far from equilibrium, as we so clearly are right now, it is small islands of coherence, novel interactions of innovative elements coming together to create a new whole that can shift the system to a higher order. It's clear that we're being gathered by the evolutionary impulse itself, for it is the vibrant diversity of our unity, joined in love and coherence, that will carry us through this precarious and potentiated time. And the Global Coherence Pulse is one such island and represents a growing collaboration of organizations and communities that are joining together for this shared purpose. And in addition to creating coherence building events, we're also committed to exploring and embodying a whole new level of collaboration and synergy. And we're having so much fun doing it. And as the results of our fun are always greater than the sum of their parts. And that's when you know that you're on the right track. So we feature a different partner organization each month, and Earth Dance Global is our spotlighted partner for this pulse today. So I'm going to turn the stage over to my beloved friend and co-founder of the Pulse, Claudia Wells, to share more about the initiative and introduce you to our event today. So Claudia, I hand it over to you with great love and appreciation for everyone that's joining us today. Happy solstice and enjoy the pulse.
Happy solstice. Thank you, Teresa. And welcome, everyone. We would like to dedicate today's pulse to our humanity in profound transition, especially to those most affected, those most marginalized among us, and to our beautiful Earth in a heartfelt acknowledgement of the blatant disregard for life, human and otherwise, that's been brought about by a scientific and cultural paradigm that initially may have meant well, but that because it's based on a belief in separation is manifesting as crises on every level and in every domain of experience. The world is and has been in between stories. Science is one of the most powerful storytellers today with great influence over our collective experience. The Global Coherence Pulse is getting behind the emerging science of our interconnectedness. That's closing the gap between science and spirit, and that's already formed and waiting to capture humanity's imagination and change what it means to be human. Coherence has many definitions, but in living systems, It always implies wholeness and health through harmonious connection and dynamic stability. Nature is encoded with coherence at every scale, from atoms to galaxies, and that includes us. But as physicist Erwin Laszlo points out, humanity, not all societies and cultures, but as a whole, humanity has suppressed our innate coherence, meaning we no longer act as a whole at all. We're no longer connected to each other or to Earth in harmonious, dynamically stable ways. As Purpose Earth said in an opening sequence this morning, we've forgotten our connectedness, our direct line of communication with the universe, and we've forgotten that we came here to dance. One of our main sources of inspiration for how to address this lack of coherence as a systemic level, Teresa already mentioned, and it comes from the Nobel Prize winning physicist Ilya Prigogine, who demonstrated scientifically that in complex systems far from equilibrium, as our world is today, small islands of coherence can shift the entire system to a higher order. The purpose of the Global Coherence Pulse is to bring a strategic effectiveness to building these islands of coherence, to create a tipping point in consciousness and shift the entire system to a higher order where the power of love eclipses the love of power. Another source of inspiration comes from our partner, the HeartMath Institute, who 30 years of pioneering research has proven that in humans, coherence has everything to do with the heart's energetic qualities of unconditional love and compassion, and that our own heart coherence scales to social and even planetary systems. We'll be hearing more about that from HeartMath in a few minutes, but what it means is if you have a heart, you can participate. It also means going beyond the idea of coherence and practicing becoming the embodiment of it, expanding our heart's capacity to hold more and more coherence. A third source of inspiration is the science demonstrating that whether through quantum entanglement, electromagnetic fields, or however it's happening, there's a collective consciousness among humanity that when it becomes coherent, measurably impacts a network of sophisticated monitors and sensors, proving scientifically that our coherence and our love moves the world. Don't we already know this in our hearts? We don't actually need to wait for science to prove it, but by pulsing the planet with synchronized heart coherence, which we're moving into now, we can help create movements of coherence strong enough that the instruments can reflect back to us this new old story, reminding us that we're here to dance. So now I would like to introduce Sandra Hay and Michael Gosney of Earth Dance Global, the host of this month's Pulse, and one of our founding partner organizations, along with the HeartMath Institute and the Global Consciousness Project, which they'll be introducing. Earth Dance is a legendary producer of heart-centered festivals, such as their September 21st International Day of Peace multi-location events, which they've been holding since 1997. Their synchronized prayer for peace was the inspiration for many such initiatives that followed in their footsteps. Sandra and Michael have been with Earth Dance for many years, Sandra bringing expertise from her work in the film industry and Michael's as an event and multimedia producer. And with today's inaugural Co-Manifestival following the Pulse, they're beginning a whole new series of virtual events and programming to bring greater coherence to the world. They are very dear friends and we're so grateful. Handing it over to you, Sandra and Michael of Earth Dance Global.
Thank you, Claudia. Sandra's going to unmute and speak with us.
Whoopsie. Thank you so much, Claudia and Teresa. You're just such extraordinary women, and I'm really honored to be part of this Global Coherence Pulse founding team, along with Roland and all the others who are just an extraordinary collection of manifestors. On behalf of Earth Dance and our whole Earth Dance team, this is our kind of inaugural day, launching into the virtual realm of creating a festival online, never been done before. So we are just in alignment with technology and our awakening consciousness to hope that all the elements come together today in a place where we can celebrate the majesty and the beauty of the coherent field that we live in. Our theme this year for Earth Dance is co-manifestable. Kind of tricky. A little word that my husband, Matt Marshall, the CEO of Earth Dance, made up one night, and we went with it. And we started to realize, what is it to co-manifestabilize something? And co-manifestable is really coming together in celebration of life with joy of dance, music, understanding deeper realms of knowledge. We have a beautiful array of incredible musical artists, amazing speakers, and it's going to be a day that where we can collectively work together to co-manifest this world that we are looking to create now. So all of the partners of Global Coherence Pulse and all of the beings that will share with us today, our mission, if you choose to take it on with us, is to co-manifest a world that we all really can imagine and want to live in together, in coherence, in harmony, and in balance with nature, and in balance with our own personal evolutionary stages of our inner growth and our outer growth, and together, our opportunity to celebrate life together. It's such a great gift, and here we are today to share it with you all. So I'd like to just pass this over to Michael Gosney, our partner in crime here, our partner in evolution, excuse me. And from here, we'll take it on for the rest of the day.
All right. Well, thank you, Sandra and Teresa and Claudia for the wonderful introduction. I don't want to take much time, but just giving a little quick background. The Earth Dance International Peace Festival, which is a multi-location event, was founded actually in 1996, and the first events were held in 1997 by our colleague Chris Decker. And Chris is still very active with many initiatives, Uplift, Uplift Connect, and others. And so what began at that time has continued for over 2 decades, and it has been truly a co-manifestation of producers all over the world and communities from literally hundreds of locations in over 60 countries. And all of these events follow the format of Earth Dance, which is celebrating and bringing light to peace, social justice, and environmental initiatives. The Prayer for Peace, held at the same moment at all of the events every year, has been just a remarkable experience for all involved. And putting aside the science, our intuitive experience of thousands of people focusing their minds at the same time on the same thing is palpable. It's a beautiful, visceral experience. In 2010, we did a particularly, had a particularly large event that year, many, many locations. And we did a extended, what we called the Global Om, after the Prayer for Peace. And that was a very, very powerful year. And that's when Roger Nelson, who is the main, has managed the Global Coherence project over all these years, had been monitoring large events to see if there was an impact on the system. And that year he saw a tremendous impact from our period of our synchronized prayer for peace. He contacted us. We ended up working together and actually developed an app called the Earth Mind Meter that showed a visual readout of the effect on the system. Roger will share more with us about the history and evolution of the Global Coherence Project in just a minute. And Roland McCready with HeartMath Institute will follow Roger, sharing more about the overall technology and initiatives of the HeartMath Institute, which is now assuming management of the Global Coherence Project. So we're all very excited about the evolution that's happening in this connection of science and consciousness. And it really is shedding light on our ability not only to create unified coherence in the field, but also the equally important conscious actions that we take in the world. Two sides of the equation: internal coherence, external actions. And so it's a pleasure to be here with you all today, and look forward to continuing with our co-manifestable Following the Pulse. And now I'd like to bring Roger Nelson on to share a little more details with us about the Global Consciousness Project. Thank you all.
Thank you, Michael. A very nice introduction, and I noticed a couple of times you said coherence, Global Coherence Project, which is exactly right in some strong sense. But the formal name is the Global Consciousness Project. I have a few slides that I would like to show. So I'll do a share screen, which I hope works properly. I should mention that we use what are called random number generators. Here I refer to as random sources. These are are electronic devices that use a kind of remarkable quantum process called electron tunneling to create a small voltage that we sample, and whether it's high or low, and convert that tiny electron tunneling voltage into ones and zeros, like flipping a coin. This process goes on very fast, so you could say that we have, we're using the spots on this map around the world, a random number generator, really high speed electronic coin flipper. But the purpose and the design of these devices is to create completely unpredictable sequences of numbers. We want to ask a question whether, if there is some major coherence among people driven by perhaps some giant event or a giant celebration, if we have a coherence that develops among large numbers of people, millions of people, will that coherence and kind of resonant entity created from all of it, will that have any effect on our random numbers in this network? And I'll just give away the end of this by saying yes, it does. But I think it's important to talk a little bit about how it works and what it might mean, and then talk about the implications for us, those of us especially who are working toward creating a different kind of presence of human on this planet. So this is a picture of what we do to the data. Original raw data in the upper left of this picture have no visible at all. So we use statistical treatments to signal where if there might be some in what's a really noisy data set. There are three layers of smoothing, basically statistical smoothing. You wind up with something at the end that looks very coherent in a sense. What it also, not by chance, looks just like what you get if you do the same kind of thing. You shine a light or stimulate it by a loud noise, and you take data from the cortex, from the brain. And it looks very noisy, but if you repeat that process a lot and then average all the events, you wind up with a curve that looks like one in the lower right-hand corner.
Hey, Roger,
Yes.
can I interrupt you just for a second? Could you try plugging your headset into your computer a little bit tighter? Because we're just getting a little bit of click, so it might just be it's not secured all the way in. Let's see. Go ahead.
I don't know. I know. don't think it changed anything. I hope the noise goes away. Sorry about that.
Okay, great. That's okay, no problem. Thank you.
So there's all kinds of things you can do with when you have lots of data, which we do. All those devices that are out in the world send data to us in constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they've been doing it, many of them, 20 years. So we have a huge database that we can look at and ask this question: if something happens in the world, this example is an earthquake in Turkey. Here's another example: an earthquake in Haiti, which is now much simplified. Instead of a lot of representing all those devices doing their thing, we combine them all, do it across all of these devices, and display the average. And perhaps you can see in the center is a label that says 7.0 quake. That's the quake that destroyed Haiti and killed something like 250,000 people. I think there's no question but that people all over the world felt deep compassion as a result of this. How's that noise? Is it still happening?
It's just, we can hear you. It's just that it's just clicking in and out just a little bit, but we can hear you. We just wanted to make sure we got your voice.
I'll try turning it. Does it anything? Here's an even more famous event, probably, in a kind of data display. In this case, we're taking a kind of history of the data and showing that for a few days, beginning early in September in 2001, the data looked normal. What we expect for like this to look like is a level wandering trace that doesn't have any special characteristics. And you can see that close to September 11th, on the 10th, actually, begin to do something very different, which it continues to do for 3 days. This is not what a random device should do, or a network of random devices. So we spent a lot of time and energy trying to see if we could understand this better. And I looked at the data in various different ways. This is exactly the data, but showing a different statistic. And you can see that on 9/11, there's immensely different or divergent set of data points. It's a really high flying, extremely unlikely deviation from the expected, which is what you see on both to the left and the right of that spike in the middle. Here's the earthquake in Japan and the tsunami that destroyed the whole Fukushima, the whole array of reactors, and sent poison all around the world. This is a huge spike, and it's centered right on the quake that seemed to have caused the entire disaster. Again, there were emotions, powerful emotions, people all around the world. You all probably remember your own. Certainly a lot of concern and compassion for the people, maybe some fear of what this might be. Don't only look at tragedies. Yes.
Roger, I think what I'm going to do is maybe have you just take off your headset and just talk directly into your computer. Can you just remove your headset? Let's try that.
You okay?
Oh, perfect. That's great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming up with a solution. I need to boost sound a little bit. So as I was saying, we don't only look at tragedies and horrifying kind of things. This is a picture of the data right around the climactic event at the Burning Man. This one is from 2012. I started looking at these in 2000 and found that they almost always produce some kind of remarkably strong effect right at the time of the. For those of you who don't know, Burning Man builds a giant man out of inflammable materials, uh, spending a tremendous amount of effort and time, making quite a wonderful sculpture, and then setting this thing on fire at the end of the celebration. So what we find is that very often when there's a really big celebration, we see changes in the data. Here's an example of New Year's, which we look at every year. This is a particularly one. I like to use it because it shows exactly what we predict in no uncertain terms. What we predict is that this measure will become more as we approach midnight on New Year's. We look at all the time zones around the world, and average them, and this is a ideal picture of what we expect and predict for New Year's. People come together. It's not an important thing in a certain sense. People just want to lift a glass, give somebody a hug. So it is a moment that brings millions of us together. Here's another very positive event. In 2015, people in Japan and around the world organized a celebration, the declaration, which is basically we are all one, and brought people to speak about that and to share experiences and understanding. This again shows all through the period of time that the ceremonies were going on, big spikes of activity in the network, unlikely, especially to see so many of them. Love and gratitude. There was an event actually in 2017, which was advertised as a celebration of love and gratitude. Some of you, probably many of you, participated or knew about this, and essentially a designed mass engagement in positive, not unlike the thing that we're talking about. A global coherence pulse is exactly kind of mass engagement, bringing us all together, as many people as know about it, to share positive emotions. Here is not 2010. I wish I had remembered that, Michael. This is a picture of the day in Earth Dance celebration 2004. Several of them. This one is a very steady trend over the whole. No, over a period of time. I guess in this case, it's only 25.
Yeah, that's during the prayer for peace, 4 o'clock Pacific time, midnight,
Yep.
Universal time.
So when we see a very steady trend, we take it as evidence that the global network is in some way paying attention to what we humans are doing. What we often are doing when we are celebrating, when we're coming together most powerfully and most in a way that is most heartfelt, is some kind of religious celebration. It may not be one of the religions, the classic religion, maybe that we've just invented. This one is in India. In the northern regions of India, millions of people come together and they bathe away their sins in the Ganges. We've examined 4 of these, asking the same question multiple times, and we can put all these together. They look enough alike that you can already see the kind of resemblance from one year to the next. This is a strong case, clear case of what scientists are always looking for: replication. Does it happen again if you do the same? Yes. I'm winding down. Most recently, people have been asking, what about the coronavirus crisis? And here we're not in a way equipped or designed to look at a long range turmoil, like weeks and months of turmoil. So I did some probes. This is a probe taken on March 11th when the World Health Organization said, this is a pandemic, folks. we're in trouble. And the stock markets, I think more or less crashed on that day. In any case, the data from the Global Consciousness Project and devices network did something extremely unusual. The odds against chance are about 4 in 10,000 that you would see something like that just because of chance. And this is a similar picture of the data on the day that the peaceful protesters in Lafayette Park were basically violently cleared away so that there could be a photo op from the White House. Again, representative of several probes in this ongoing protest. We, I think, again, it shows the kind of chance odds of 1 in 10,000. And I think means, again, that the global consciousness, represented by my network of random devices, is paying attention. We know that too. We know that people all over the world are concerned deeply. I just want to show, this is the culmination of 17 years of forming of a hypothesis. The red line there should be level if nothing were happening. It's not level. The big cloud of lines are random simulations of what would happen if there were nothing, if there were no as a global consciousness. You can see that such a huge difference that the odds against chance are about 1 in 1 trillion. So finally, we, having kind of established that there is some there, we can ask what drives the effect, what goes on, what makes a difference. And we find things that are not surprising. If there are a really large number of people involved and engaged in these events, we see bigger effects. But this is what I consider to be the most revealing and, to me, most encouraging indication. What matters to this global consciousness that I think we're tapping into, events that compassion, that embody compassion or evoke compassion at a high level, have an extraordinary effect. Lower levels of compassion or none at all show much smaller effects in our so it's not surprising to me. We shouldn't be compassion being something that brings people together, should be something that shows a large effect in the global consciousness project data. So what we should do, we have evidence of deep interconnections, but these are basically unknown and unconscious. People talk about it. We know in principle that they should be there. So I think what we need to do is try to do the things that we know how to do. And what we're doing in this global coherence pulse is one of those kinds of things. What if these connections that we have, which are demonstrated in the scientific data, what if they are brought into awareness? And I think we lead directly to the idea of intentional, conscious evolution. There are a couple of books that people can look for. One's in English, called The Emergence of Global Consciousness. The other one's in German, if we have international. Co-written with a friend of mine in Vienna. It's called Der Weltgeist, wie wir alle miteinander verbunden sind. Means the same thing, basically, how we're all connected. So thank you all for listening. I'll stop the share.
Thank you, Roger. Beautiful. So, yeah, I mean, in sum, we're seeing that when millions of minds are entrained on the same thing, it shows up on this system. It's a remarkable thing. And what it leads to is it gives us a hint of the potential of collective intention, how we really can shape reality. And this is really, I think, what's emerging is our vision of a future that we can all get behind, and intend with coherence, you know, as a species. Ultimately, that's what we're working towards. So, well, it'd be great for Roland. Thank you so much again, Roger, for Roland to share with us a little update on Global Coherence Initiative and HeartMath's work. And apologies again for confusing the title there, Roger. So do we have Roland ready to come up? And there he is.
Hi, thank you, Michael. I'll be brief. I think we're probably running a little bit short on time here, according to my clock. Just a brief introduction for those of you that might not know about HeartMath and the HeartMath Institute. HeartMath is really a system of tools, techniques, technologies that really help people learn how to access the intelligence of their own heart and bring their mind, emotions, and physical systems into coherence through those practices. And there's about, I think, close to 10,000 trainers around the world, all around the world. And we have many certification programs for those that want to bring this work into their communities, their companies, and their organizations. One of our in the research side, we really kind of focus in three main areas: what we call personal coherence, which is about getting our bodies, our systems, our minds, emotions, hearts, and brains together in coherence, in a number of programs and tools and techniques of how to do that. We also have training programs and also doing research in social coherence. And coherence meaning just how well do we get along? What are the strengths of the connections and the harmonious cooperation among the parts of the system, whether it's our bodies, personal, within social groups and communities, and also at the global level. So this is what we call the Global Coherence Initiative, which is what I'm just going to speak to today. Just briefly, the mission of GCI is really to bring people together and unite people in heart-focused love and intention, to really help facilitate and shift the global consciousness from instability and discord to compassion, care, cooperation, and increasing peace. So that's really what this is all about. So there's two sides. There's one, like the Global Pulse, is really a wonderful partner to have, because it's really bringing us together to really pulse the field. But then there's the scientific side, which I'm the director of. So to do science, we have to measure things. So like Roger just described, he's got a wonderful scientific instrument that's globally distributed around the world. We're doing something different, although Roger and I are great friends and collaborate closely together. What we're doing here is measuring the magnetic rhythms and fields of the Earth itself. So we've created what's called the Global Coherence Monitoring System. And these are very specially designed ultra-sensitive magnetometers located around the world to measure the resonant frequencies in the Earth's magnetic or energetic systems. For those that want a much more in-depth discussion of that, there's recordings and interviews on both the Global Coherence Pulse website and also on Awake TV network. We've done interviews. I invite you to check those out, because I certainly can't go into that here today. But basically, we're monitoring the rhythms and the fields of the Earth. Now, there are multiple magnetic systems and frequencies and kind of music, you could say, of the Earth. One of the ones that people really don't know a lot about are called field line resonances. And this is the actual geomagnetic field of the Earth itself, that has the North and the South Pole. And these magnetic field lines can literally act like guitar strings, and they get plucked by the solar wind rushing by, and they vibrate, and they have resonant frequencies, field line resonances. Now, what is just absolutely fascinating to me is one of the primary resonant frequencies of Earth, of these field line resonances, is at a frequency called 0.1 hertz, like you see on the slide here. But this whole range of rhythms and frequencies of the Earth exactly overlap human autonomic nervous system and heart rhythms. Okay. Now, 0.1 is especially important because that is the same frequency as our heart rhythms, human heart rhythms, when we're in what we call a coherent state. Now, so that's just one bucket there. We could spend a whole hour just on that topic, but one of the types of studies we've been doing is in addition to measuring the Earth, is measuring people. So in a study that kind of kicked off a whole new unexpected result and insight was when we had monitors on people to measure their heart rate variability that measures them 24 hours a day. And these people wore these devices for 30 days, so a lot of data. But these people were spread across the state, in this case of California. Some in the southern part, northern, central, didn't know each other, just going about their normal lives for 30 days. And we were doing this to see if we could see strong or weak correlations between changes in the Earth's field and the people's nervous system activity. The surprise came when we averaged, time synchronized and averaged their data together, the beat to beat change in their heart rate, expecting a noisy flat line. In a similar way, what Roger was talking about, you expect a noisy kind of flat line. You can see on the graph here, that is not what we found at all. So the black, you can look at the black line. This is the synchronized, what this is showing actually, just cut to the chase, is that the heart rhythms of this group of people across the state are synchronized. In other words, there's a slow rhythm where their hearts are synchronizing together. Now, the only thing that we could think of that could explain that was one of our own hypotheses, was that these people are synchronized to each other because they're in sync with an external signal that's across the entire state, which is the magnetic field of the Earth. And that's the red line, the power of the resonant frequencies that you see there. So an amazing level of synchronization, way beyond what we would ever expected to have detected or seen, showing that I believe we're interconnected on many levels, but this is one that we can actually measure. And I think we're only starting to understand how profound this actually is. So seeing that in the state, across the state of California, we better expand this globally. So we were able to do a much larger study where we had much larger groups of people in 5 countries around the world. I won't go into all of that details now, and what you see here on the left side of this graph, the black line is the power of the resonant frequencies, in this case of the Schumann resonance band, the 8 Schumann resonances, and the blue line are a subgroup of these people from all around the world. And again, we see this amazing degree of synchronization between them. They're synchronized with each other and the Earth. And then on the right side, this is what we would call the field line resonances, which is a completely different, a much more powerful range of frequencies. So again, this amazing degree of synchronization. So we really are, our hearts really are beating in sync together. And this happens at a global level. Now, we have a lot of hints that one of the things that gets us out of sync with others in the Earth is stress, accumulated stress. So many studies are now indicating that it's a good thing to be in sync. We want to be in sync and resonant with the Earth. Now, one of the things that can help us do that in this last study, this global study, we had all the individuals in all these groups, well over 100 people, do what's called a heart lock-in. This is a technique where you basically tune to your heart, focus on the area of the heart, and activate feelings of love, compassion, appreciation, and radiate those to yourself and others. So this group did this together. We kind of synchronized it and kind of connected by Skype back in those days and all linked up. And we did this, this heart meditation for 15 minutes. Now, what you're seeing here, this is one of the groups. This was a group in Lithuania. And we're looking at the individual level of 20 people in each group. So in this particular group, you're seeing the degree of synchronization of the heart rhythms of the individual members of this group with the Earth on the day before, and on the right, the day after doing this heart lock-in. So what this is showing us, and by the way, all the groups look just like this. I don't have time to go through it. That just getting ourselves coherent, heart coherent for 15 minutes did a number of things. It significantly increased the synchronization among the group members. Their hearts started beating together in sync, but it also increased our synchronization with the Earth itself for the next 24 hours. Again, results I would never have predicted. One of the other scientific tools we're in the process of developing and hope to launch later this year, it's kind of gotten slowed down for obvious reasons, is a global network of measuring the electrical activity of trees. So this will be coming. So we'll be working with Roger with a new version of the global consciousness data, the Earth magnetic data, trees, to create, I think, a whole new research mechanism to really measure the interconnectivity among us and why it's so important that we have events like the Global Coherence Pulse, because it's really time to feed the field with more love and care for each other. And what we feed the field matters. It really does. At the individual level, a lot of people talk about, well, I'm just one person, but we all feed the field and we all feed it equally. Coherence organizes noise. And the more we can become more coherent in our day-to-day lives, the more coherence we're feeding the field. The more love, the more compassion. So that takes us into coherence. So I truly believe we are at a point in the history of the evolution of consciousness where right now we have an opportunity to make a jump, an unprecedented jump to a truly more harmonious and cooperative and compassionate way of being here on Earth. Now, one of the things I would recommend or encourage you, a lot of people that are familiar with the Global Coherence Pulse know about the Global Coherence app. I have a little sensor on my ear now. And this allows us to measure our actual coherence at the individual level, anywhere in the world, so at the community. And so in the future, we'll be doing actual studies where we pulse the field, measuring us in our community and how coherent we are, and the effects on this measurement
That's
system.
fantastic.
So with that, Michael, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. We're ready to move on to our meditation today. That's a lot of information. This will be a recording up there for those who want to watch again. And Sandra, turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you, Roland and Roger. Wow, overwhelming information. And now let's just embody that information and take it to the next level where we individually will be feeding the field with our own awakened consciousness. We're going to actually do the global Om, which we recorded actually 10 years ago at Earth Dance, where we were connected with thousands and thousands of people across the world, where everyone did one Om collectively together. And so we're going to repeat that today. We're going to actually play you in the midst of this meditation, the original Om that we did 10 years ago. We're going to be led by an extraordinary spiritual teacher and author, Amanda McPherson, who will be guiding us through this meditation. And she will lead us into it. And then at a certain point, you will hear the prayer for peace, which is the Earth Dance prayer for peace that we do at every Earth Dance event. And that will then take us into the global Om, where we will spend a period of time together collectively in the meditation. And then Miranda will bring us back out, and we'll be hopefully feeding the field with extraordinary love, compassion, and all the resonance that we can all muster together to create a harmonious frequency for today's activation. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Miranda McPherson, who will be guiding us on this extraordinary journey. Thank you.
In these times of great change and transformation, every one of us is needed now to step up with a new depth of courage and compassion, and most of all, love, to serve our world in transition. So it's my joy to lead you in a simple meditation. So please find somewhere comfortable where you can sit or lie down and journey. Close your eyes and turn within, bringing your awareness to the breath and letting each breath get slower, longer, deeper. Each inhale welcomes you, just to be here as you are, receiving the holding of the chair, the floor. Each exhale is a natural letting go, letting body tension melt, the need to figure anything out melt, just as naturally as ice will melt in the warmth of the sun. Feel yourself breathing into the area of the heart, as if your heart itself could breathe, as if every breath you take is love, quite literally, a gift from the plant kingdom to nourish and sustain you right now. breathe your gratitude for life, for your life. Breathe into your appreciation for the important people in your world. Your love, care, appreciation for them. Breathe into the very source of your love. And let loving presence pervade your whole being, filling your heart with goodness, kindness, warmth, tenderness, joy, filling your whole body with nourishment, golden light. Feel as if your heart backs into a universal heart that is boundless, infinite, vast, that connects you to everything and everyone in existence, that breathes a love in and through you, that carries you all the way home.
We are one global family, all colors, all races, one world, united. We dance for peace and the healing of our planet Earth. Peace for all nations, peace for our communities, and peace within ourselves. As we join all dance floors across the world, let us connect heart to heart. Through our diversity, we recognize unity. Through our compassion, we recognize peace. Our love is the power to transform our world. Let us send it out now. Awaken
taking a few deeper breaths. Just wiggle your fingers and toes, letting your awareness of this ordinary world find you as you slowly let your eyes open, but without leaving the inner abiding, that expansion and unity and love that is the deep heart of us all. Let light and color and form come to you, and let the loving presence that is the nectar of your heart breathe you and breathe through you, naturally expressing itself through your movement and your gaze and your way of being. Let us emerge back into this world, enlivened and wake and inspired and joyful, and let us be the beautiful, noble, graceful human beings we were made to be.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Miranda, for bringing us together in the unity of our hearts, where we share our collective heartbeat with all of humanity. And as we move on into the day today, let us hold this place in our hearts and in our minds. And from here, let us dance together, peace and healing in our world. Thank you, Global Coherence Pulse partners who've been amazing to work with. Thank you, Teresa and Claudia, for extraordinary women that you are and what you bring to the world. And as our prayer declares, our love is the power to transform our world. So let's send it out now. See you at the festival in a little while.
Thank you, Sandra and Michael and Roger and Roland for sharing with us today, and for Miranda for the meditation. Somebody just said, I've never felt waves of energy like this before. Amazing. So let's move out into our day, into this solstice time, and let's keep sending our love. Keep sending our love and blessings out into the world, and keep knowing that whatever we're feeding the field is making a difference. And when we feel it, feed it with love and compassion and care and joy and celebration, that we have a huge impact on the future and on our health and well-being. So blessings, everybody. Have a beautiful day today. Happy solstice. We love you, and we'll see you soon. Blessings. Bye, everybody. You can stay in the Global TV stage and you'll see the festival. And if you're watching from the World Unity stage, I know they've got some wonderful things coming today. So enjoy your beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Blessings.